You read that right, and his title is real. Today, we're talking about Daniel Freeman on today's Homestead with History. Homesteading through history. Yeah. To understand Daniel Freeman and really the story of homesteading, we really have to understand the founding of the nation. Yeah, it goes way back there. It tends to be that when we think about the founding of the nation and the Civil War, we could think of these two points in history being really separated apart, but really, they were only separated by 85 years. To give you some context, my grandfather and my son are close to 80 years apart, and that's the difference between the birth of the nation and the Civil War. The reason why this matters is because tensions were still really high at this time. A lot of northern states at the founding of the nation didn't want slavery to continue, and they only capitulated to some of the southern states so that they could have a united nation and hopefully get rid of slavery in the future. These tensions between the North and the South were still brewing and were ever expanding in just those short 85 years. And this takes us to 1852, where free land was pushed by the Republican Party at the time, where they said the land should be for poor. We need to expand west and anybody could have access to land. And this was a big push for it. Southern Democrats, on the other hand, thought that this was a ploy to diminish their power in Congress, diminish their power in the government, and take away votes from them because they would be mostly Northerners, which was their thought, moving to these states in the West, increasing power of anti-slavery all throughout. Now, this was slightly kind of true. Some of the idea of the Homestead Act was to take power away from Southern slaveholders and Southern farms because they owned too much property and they were in such control of the farming in that lower industry and nobody could have access to land. And they wanted to stop that from happening in the West. They also wanted to stop slavery moving to the West. So whatever they could do to stop that was a huge benefit. You give free land to people in need and you stop the spread of slavery. The two are highly entangled. Now we get 1859 campaigning by the Republicans really pushing forward this Homestead Act. Abraham Lincoln at the time, I'll pull up a quote, but he said something like, making a way for free men. You'll see it. 1860 happens, Abraham Lincoln is elected, and this really sets tensions. Then 1861 ignites and the Civil War happens. Everybody separated on both sides. Head into 1862, May 20th of 1862, no Democrats are in Congress to vote against any Republican at this time. So the Republicans, Abraham Lincoln, sees his moment to push forward this legislation of the Homestead Act, sailing through Congress with nobody to vote against it because only one side is present. And we get May 20th, 1862, the Homestead Act. Under this rendition, the Homestead Act went to any U.S. citizen or anyone seeking to be a U.S. citizen, as long as they pledged that they would become a U.S. citizen, and gave free land to anyone seeking to build a house, cultivate crops, and live there for 5 years. And you couldn't leave there for a total of more than 6 months. And this opened up the floodgates for immigration to the U.S., and it's kind of during immigration to the U.S., and it opens up the floodgates for people moving west. Now, the portion of land that was permitted under this act was 160 acres. Later on, they expanded that, thinking that this wasn't enough for proper farming over time. But initially, this was 160 acres that they gave out for free, as long as you had grit and determination and hopefully some farming skills. But this act did not go into effect until January 1st of 1863. And that leads us to Daniel Freeman. Daniel Freeman originally became a doctor in his early age, then sought opportunity in Nebraska to start his own practice and help out in the new expanding West where they needed doctors. So he headed west, and while he was there, not only was he a doctor, he enlisted in the Army as a Union soldier and became a surveyor. And at the time, Nebraska was known as the Garden of the West. So eyeing the property, knowing the land really well as a surveyor, his opportunity arises. And that's when January 1st, 1864, he shows up at 12:10 in the morning with a hot cup of coffee. Of course, there's a lot of other people who want this land, but he's there, 12:10 a.m. He bribes the land commissioner to let him in, bribes him with this warm cup of coffee on a cool night, and he gets the very first land signature, becoming the very first homesteader in history. And during these early years of homesteading, it was not easy. Not just for Daniel, everybody. There was no electricity, no running water. And at this time, depending on where you lived, there was a war going on, the Civil War, and there was also rivaling factions between the Native Americans and the new settlers moving in. You had certain Native American tribes that were hostile to the settlers and settlers to the Native Americans, but you also had Native Americans that were friendly with other settlers moving in. After being enlisted in the war, he was commissioned to go out and deal with a hostile Native American group that was attacking the outskirts of Beatrice, Nebraska, where he was a part of. He teamed up with friendly Native American groups where they were able to deal with the threat. And what he brought up in his letters is that he really didn't want to be out there fighting. He didn't want to go out and be a part of this, but he felt as though they were out there having to do this in self-defense, and he didn't want to be a part of any fighting, but he felt as though he had to. And he was sharing these thoughts with letters that he was sending. These correspondence that he ended up sending started in July 4th of 1864. His brother had recently passed as part of the war. This was his younger brother. Daniel loved his brother so much, and they would be in correspondence what sounded like daily. As many times as they could write each other, they would. And with Daniel's brother recently passing and the loneliness of homesteading, the sorrow and depression and loneliness that Daniel was feeling was unbearable. So what he ended up doing was sending mail to his brother's fiancée. The only connection that he could still get with his brother in letter was with her. So they talked, and within the year, they talked about so many things, and Daniel eventually decided to confess his love to Agnes and asked for Agnes to marry him in the same letter. And not too long after that, they met up, got married, and headed back together to their new home in Nebraska. And she was pregnant at this time, and most people think it was actually Daniel's brother's baby. So taking on a new wife and his brother's baby, they move into their new homestead and then have 7 more children, 8 in total. And at this time, homesteading really was not easy. Nebraska itself was not easy. Although they called this the Garden of the West, they didn't have lumber. So what they needed to do at these times in Nebraska was make sod huts. Their houses were made from mud, kind of bricks stacked together with sod roofs, and it just was a leaky, drafty, one-room, difficult place to live. But at that time, they planted orchards, which became the first orchards in Nebraska history. And then he planted Osage oranges, which are still there today. These Osage orange trees, or also known as bodock, are very thick, thistly trees that grow really fast. And at this time, they're used very often for fence lining. So he did that to keep cattle in one side away from his crops. He grew wheat, corn, soy, and these are the crops that he would grow in order to make his farm cultivated like the government commissioned him to do so that he can get this property to him completely for free. This was not easy though. Nebraska went through droughts, blizzards, massive grasshopper hordes that decimated crops, fires, all while growing a homestead, raising a family, making houses out of sod, dealing with farm equipment without modern amenities, no tractors, feeding horses, dealing with hay. It was a lot, to say the least. But finally, as the railroad moves forward and enters into Nebraska, Nebraska and its citizens finally have access at large scale to lumber. So Daniel tears down his house and builds a log cabin, along with tons of other outbuildings, like he would need to have in this time. Buildings for storing grain, buildings for housing animals, outbuildings, and a new house. His new house was a 1-story, 1-bedroom log cabin, and they lived here for quite some time until the future. Then after some time, some farming and pulling in a little bit more income, they were able to tear that thing down, build a nice brick house, 2-story, and that's what you see here, which says the first homestead in history. But interestingly enough, Daniel's story doesn't stop here. Daniel Freeman ends up helping build a school in his area, calling it the Freeman School. It's unclear whether this school was named after him or a blacksmith. I think it was a blacksmith in his time called something Freeman, but It's unclear who did it. However, Daniel Freeman was on the board and did teach there. Now, at the time, there's a lot of immigrants coming here from the US. And a little bit more historical context, from the late 1700s up until 1860, this period is known as the Great Awakening, where there's a large movement back to the Protestant faith between Methodist, Baptist, Presbyterian. And at the same time, you get a lot of immigrants coming from Northern Ireland, or Ireland in general. And these Irish immigrants tend to be largely Catholic. So as everybody moves in, and there's this great awakening of all of these different Protestant denominations, you have teachers, which were doing it for a long time, teaching more Protestant things, teaching ideas from a more Protestant perspective in public school. Now, as a Protestant myself, and somebody who would fully understand teaching the Bible or Protestant ideas in schools, I can understand what Daniel Freeman did next. There was a teacher teaching in Daniel Freeman's school, reading from the Bible, teaching hymns, but again, this was not uncommon at the time. Lots of schools were doing it, especially in the North. But Daniel Freeman, with all of the different denominations that were already arguing with each other at the time, and the large-scale amount of Catholic immigrants moving in to America, he saw this as what he would call somewhat of indoctrination or favoritism based off of a certain denomination. And although I'm a Protestant, a proud Christian, and of the Protestant mindset, I can understand some of the idea here because, yes, with all of the different denominational differences, there becomes a favoritism in one denomination over the other. And I can understand somebody saying, let's not push one denomination over the other. However, I feel like we threw out the baby with the bathwater, but that's a different story. So Daniel Freeman sues the state of Nebraska for religious freedom and a separation of church and state, becoming one of the first filing suit in a Supreme Court of Nebraska action to separate church and state. And he loses at first, then wins on appeal. This becomes the precursor to the US Supreme Court actually taking that, not his case, but it's the precursor, taking that and to fully separating church and state in American history. And honestly, who knew that there was this much history hidden behind one humble homesteader? His grit and his determination paid out, living well into his 80s, with his wife on his homestead the entire time. And this was no small feat because out of 1.6 million people who took advantage of the Homestead Act, and that is 280 million acres that was given out for free, only 40% of those people were able to live up to their obligations to the US government and live on their property for 5 years, cultivate crops, and build a dwelling. Now, to commemorate not just Freeman, but also this Homestead Act and this major part of US history that happened during the Civil War with Abraham Lincoln. In the 1970s, the state of Nebraska ended up taking ownership of Daniel Freeman's T-shaped plot, and as a commemoration to him and all the homesteaders, they turned this place into a national monument. And today we can still see the Osage orange trees that he planted along with his orchard and the plot that he loved so much. And that's been today's Homesteading Through History. Let me know down in the comments if there's something that you want me to go over when it comes to these homestead with history ideas. I actually kind of enjoy doing the research, deep diving in a lot of them, and learning a lot about this. I don't just want to make it about people. I also want to cover things like, well, what about the history of milking devices? I don't know. That's just shooting that out there. But if you guys have any ideas, let me know. See you guys later. And for the second time, goodbye.